So I had this dream the other night, and I don't dream often, but I'm not also one of those people that when people say, "What are your dreams?" I say nightmares because the truth is, I never really dreamt as a kid. I dreamt a lot of times during the day. That was my time to dream. At night, I just fell asleep, just knocked out. And in the times I did dream, they were nightmares or dreams in the gray area, neither good nor bad, neither good nor bad, just dreams that didn't necessarily make me happy, but I had to think about. Recently, I had a dream. Um, I was it was a church, which, given the nature of this show, of course, it was a church. It's always a church, really. And the church was like half modern on the outside, and as you got in, it was built into this mountain of some kind, and the rock formation took over. So you entered modern, but the word was coming from an ancient place in the back, right? And it was packed. So shout out to the church. They're doing very well. They're doing very well. A lot of people were there. Some people I knew, some people I didn't. For the most part in dreams, you're just dealing with people you don't really know. And the few that you do know, you have thoughts about, you're wondering about in some kind of way, both good, bad, or indifferent for the third. But I'm in this church, and in this particular dream, I see members of my family. I see friends of mine that I care about. I see my girlfriend's work in the room. She has a collection plate. She's running the bingo. She's the reason the lights are on, really. And then there's just one of them, one person I was trying to reach. And I don't want to say their name or give any indication who they are because it is a personal thing. And it's something I'm going to have to cross later on. But I tried my best to reach out to this person. And I tried to get through the crowds to get to them. But it was utterly impossible. I just couldn't. And the more I tried, the less I could get close to them. And my other three main best friends were there. Guys I keep in touch with routinely. They're part of my life all the time. But this particular individual was someone I don't really get to speak to all the time. So maybe there was an aspect there where I'm trying to reach this person that I just can't touch. I just can't grab. Or maybe I just can't comprehend why I can't reach them. Maybe I'm unable to navigate the crowd that's separating us. I don't know. But like all dreams, though, they they can be about multiple things. And I think a lot of that dream for me was, what do you build your church on? And it made me think about what I built mine on. Family's the foundation, friends are the walls. My decisions, good ones, bad ones, the ones I'd give anything to take back, the ones that were great, the ones that led me to beautiful places, those are the stones. That's the they're actually the stained glass windows too. They're what the materials of the building are. And once again, my girlfriend is running the bingo. And what a hack joke. The woman's running the money. I know. Have I become old? I'm closer to 40 than I am 30. So I guess I'm starting to think about those things more now. But here, what was interesting to me was it wasn't just about what do we build our churches on. In this particular dream, it was already built. And it was a mixture of modern and old. And I think I'm in a transitional period where the old things will always be the sermons we give, right? Those are the 10 Commandments. There are natures of good and evil. What we believe that's worth fighting in, what we're fighting for, what you have to give up on, what hills you're willing to die on. And I think with this show, we've done 100 episodes of that. We've done 100 episodes of trying to decipher what that is. What are the things people at their very base care about and are willing to trade from time to time? And if this first 100 is the church we've built, then that would mean we have 100 hours, or count the .5 episodes, probably 102, 103, of gospel. And I am a prophet for profit. Working on the second part, but I am a prophet now. Bet you didn't see that one coming, did you? Did you think the delusions of grandeur were gone? They weren't. This is how I get through the day. Terrible. Everything I have ever put in front of you on this show, the city, my faith that I was handed to as a kid, the languages we all use to share our feelings, the music industry and how it takes parts of people and just sells them off until they're nothing. It's all about the price of those things. It's all about how priceless are things until someone puts a number on them. And sometimes it's us. Sometimes it's other people. But I am always looking for the exact moment when something is a net negative. And when I point these things out, it's not to rub it in your face, haha, I showed you. It's to grieve it with you out loud, because there is a part of me that grieves it as well, because that's the church. It's a room where we come to bury these precious things together, and we say words over them so it doesn't have to hurt alone, so you don't have to hurt alone, or I don't. And in there's a dark comedy element. There always has been. And that's the recommitment. When I look down to the next 100 episodes, I want to remember what this is all about. The title of the show is This Will End in Darkness. I do not promise you happy endings. I've already read the last page of the book, and I'm telling you, I'm going to record on the mic anyway. But I'm going to walk you through it. I'll be your buddy. I'll be your Virgil in the Inferno. And that's the vow. Just come to Mass. I'll pass the collection plate. And hopefully you give me something for it. Because these sermons don't write themselves. I have to write them. So for those who were with us for the first 100, thank you. You helped grow the church. It is what it is. It wouldn't be anything without you. And for those who have just come to church, who are late to Mass, let's have the talks we can have when the sun is up. Good evening. I'm Ralph from This Went in Darkness. We're back. New studio, comfy studio. We're going to call this the comfy studio. And the green screen studio, we'll call that the green screen studio. I don't want to. I didn't think of a name for the green screen one, okay? I haven't had time. Ralph, you've been gone for months. Shut the fuck up, okay? I haven't thought about it. I haven't gotten there yet. I also heard we can't really curse anymore because YouTube docks your shit down in the algorithm. Well, fuck me, okay? How am I supposed to do this podcast now if I can't curse? It's horse shit. You can't smoke anymore on YouTube anymore either. But who cares, you know? Who cares? I care. I just want this new era to go well. Anyway, we are back. And of course, when we take these breaks, we come back with grievances. Now, I wouldn't say what I have is a grievance. It's more of a disappointment. Tony Hinchcliffe and I are part of the same tribe. No, we're not gay. I don't even think he's gay. I think the joke's about him being gay or hack. But it's kind of hard to beat those allegations, I guess. Dressing up as a melted Ken doll. More like a burnt hot dog Ken doll. His skin has gotten so bad. It's not good. It's just not good. But we are a member of the same tribe, and it's not comedy. I'm not a comedian. I'm fat. So I had to develop a personality. Well, I didn't grow up fat, though. I grew up skinny. So sometimes when you're skinny, you have a personality, too. I had terrible cheekbones. Maybe that's why I identify so much with Tony. We were once skinny guys. Well, he's still a skinny guy. Maybe that's where the insecurity comes from. But we're pro wrestling fans. We are guys who love pro wrestling. We both particularly love Ric Flair's work. Now, Ric Flair, the man, I don't know where Tony stands on that. I know where I stand on that. But but we'll definitely do an episode on that. But Ric Flair, you know, is important to both of us. Though I think Tony's only a WWF Ric Flair fan, based on all his memories just being WWF moments. But to be fair, it might make sense why this next segment's going to go the way it's going to go, because I'm a Ric Flair guy from Mid-South, the Mid-Atlantic, all the way to WWF and beyond. There's not a single Ric Flair era I haven't watched. And the takeaway of Ric Flair a lot of times is, look at the robe, look at the promo. Like, there was one promo he had with Buddy Landau. I literally yell this promo out to friends all the time. All the time. They hate me for it. But it's my favorite.
It's so hard for me to sit back here in this studio looking at a guy out here hollering my name when last year I spent more money on spilt liquor in bars from one side of this world to the other than you made. You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Woo!
How can you not love that? How can you not love that? It's a dude telling another dude to go fuck yourself. I'm rich and I'm great. Look how great I am. I have all this cool stuff. But that part is the only part people take from Ric Flair, because it's the one that gets clipped. It's the one that's easily referenced. Like, you can go, oh man, remember he said, like, you know, fuck this dude because he's got, you know, jets and all that other shit. And the problem is, though, this was only one aspect of the Flair legacy. The robe, the girls, all of it was all one aspect of that legacy. The part Tony never took into account is the most important part of Ric Flair and guys of his era. Or let's not act like they always did it. Some always did, some didn't always, and Ric Flair almost didn't always do it. They knew how to put guys over. Ric Flair was the star. He was the show in and of itself. You knew when Ric Flair was on the card, you were going to be happy. You were going to laugh. You were going to be entertained. You were going to see a great match. But the reason why the matches were good is not because Ric Flair is just so great. It's that Ric Flair sold you on the idea that he might lose this one. And it was pretty credible that he might lose it. Now, he didn't do this for everyone. He didn't do it for every jobber that walked off the street, respectfully. Because jobbers are an important part of our business. I say our business, but I'm not in the pro wrestling business. But I feel like I am. But it's an important part of the business. Because guys sometimes got to lose to make a main event guy look good. Sometimes a main event guy has to lose so another guy can elevate. It's the whole business, as Terry Funk once explained it, is putting people over. That's it. That's it. Comedy should necessarily be the same. When you're hosting a show, you want all the comics to do well. So shitting on one, whether it's in jest of one another, because I've seen it happen where a guy was aiming for a motherfucker and took him out to the point when once he got on stage, it was game over. There was nothing that guy could say. But you want the show to get over. You want as many comedians to get over so this club can continually produce shows, so this promotion can have lots of stars, many headliners. That's the goal. Everyone's got to get over. Now, Tony, on the other hand, looked at the open mic scene and went, there's a lot of cringe here that I could use to get over. There's a lot of jobbers here that I can take advantage of and always look like a G, look like Rick did because I'm so great and look at these jobbers. Kill Tony is just a jobber feeding system. It's the times of WWF superstars that you hated where Hulk Hogan was on the show, but he was fighting a jabroni. He was fighting Petey Peckerwood from Whitesville, Nebraska. It was nobody. Colt Hammer from Langley, Virginia. That's it. Those guys were coming out. They weren't even real people. They didn't even get music. So I'll give Tony that. On Kill Tony, his jobbers get music. They at least get something out of that. An entrance. But all Tony has made his career on is being an open mic host and just destroying jobbers. So when his special came out and it bombed, it wasn't a surprise to me or anyone who'd been paying attention. It was certainly a surprise to Tony, which kind of surprised. Your first special was a bomb, dude. You literally scrubbed it off the internet. You don't see Ric Flair scrubbing any matches off the internet. Then again, he wrestled over like 600 matches, so maybe that's not a one-to-one comparison, but I did it anyway because I'm an asshole. But it's very easy for Tony to get off his jokes to guys who really can't defend themselves. And because he spent so much time with jobbers, when it was time to do his special, all he had was jobber skills. Cheap heat. And anyone could do cheap heat. And let's be clear, every wrestler does cheap heat at some point. Cheap heat is one of those things you can pull out of your pocket when things aren't going the way you want them. So you just say something to the crowd. You do one of these to them. You kick a baby face in the balls or something. Just cheap heat. You shit on the hometown. That's cheap heat. That's all it is. It's cheap heat. Now, cheap heat became Tony's only skill set. So when you now have to do a 60-minute match with just cheap heat moves, you get exposed. He got exposed. Even at the roast, he was getting exposed by several people. Shane Gillis has pretty much made it clear he's the guy now. Tony's out. And You can't say Tony ever made anybody. The people I don't even think he jobbed to anybody. So like, you can't make anyone. But let's say, and hypothetically speaking, he made someone. Hans Kim was already a solid comic going in. He walked in, killed, did what he had to do. I'm not a fan of Hans Kim, but I do see the material is there. Cam Hanes is another one, right? Cam walked in, having done Channel 85 for years, and now he was the big show to get the big, audience. So he can cross over to the whites. That's why he did Kill Tony. Now he's on SNL. Go figure. But everyone else, like William Montgomery, who is beloved on Kill Tony, but bombs regularly in clubs. You got Dave Lucas, who released a special where there's only 3 jokes, so he spends the entire time walking back and forth trying to gasp for air. He does more breathing on that fucking special than he does jokes. And it's because he's so fat. And I don't like to, point out fat because I'm kind of fat, but he's arguably, he should be hunted like at a zoo. Like, remember they were saying that those poachers were going out there hunting lions? There should be a little bit of a hunting program for fat comedians. They're terrible. That should pay the ultimate price. You can't be fat and not funny. You cannot be fat and not funny. That's not how that works. You have to be funny and fat. If you're not funny fat, I don't know what to tell you. You've developed no personality and you set yourself up for failure. That's just what it is. Uncancelable, he called this special, though he apologized for he apologized for the George Floyd joke rather quickly. But that's the roster he's made. And none of those guys can headline on their own. So now they're touring together as the Killers of Kill Tony. They have to tour as the faction, which is such an NWO move. When they started putting guys in the NWO, they had a B team and A team. So Stevie Ray ran the B team with Buff Bagwell and Mr. Perfect. But the whole idea was you put an NWO shirt on a guy, he's a star. You put a guy on Kill Tony, he's a star, according to Rogan. Which, once again, as we explained, not the best guy to be taking advice from on what's funny. Because Rogan recently had a special, and God bless him, bombed. He bombed so hard he pulled out a joke from 10 years ago to save himself with for a cheap pop. Then he saw the Brendan Schaub joke, which was even weirder. Because Schaub is one of the biggest jobbers in the business. Respectfully to the Gringo Poppy. Brian Callen's special bombed. By nature of being Brian Callen, it failed. He was never a good comedian anyway. When your best move is a kadish, you're not a comedian anymore. You're like a animatronic at best. He bombs. Tony bombs. Rogan bombs. David Lucas, I don't even know if you can call it a bomb. It didn't register, but it didn't register. This is not hate, by the way. It's just honesty. And I want people to remember that when they criticize my show, that I too sometimes bomb. And I'm okay with that. I live in the nuclear explosion of my own bad jokes. But what does this say about the state of comedy then? That if these quote-unquote headliners, who have a lot of national attention, cannot make new stars, then the whole business is unhealthy. So the main event scene cannot make new headliners or even new middle acts who become the headliners later. And that is why comedy's in the state it's in now. Like, a lot of these guys aren't selling out like they used to because the pandemic's over. And now the industry got readjusted. Is this guy worth seeing? It's not. And now that they're all getting exposed over time, it only hurts the industry more. We are in a tough spot when it comes to main eventers in comedy. It's a shame. It's a shame. But it all started with a guy who really liked Ric Flair and understood very little of what made Ric Flair Ric Flair. Anytime Tony has ever taken a jab from someone, he immediately tells a guy, enjoy your few moments on this stage. It's the biggest of your career. Flair would have leaned into the hit, would have done a flop selling it, and that guy would have been made for the night. That he would have been somebody. But because Tony will not allow guys to get over on him, no less. Which I assume that wouldn't be a problem. Hack joke again. See, I am guilty. We are all sinners in our own way. But that's really the problem. And maybe it's not even so much a Ric Flair thing, right? Because I think Tony's technically more of a Vince McMahon, where he looked at ECW back in the day, which was Colin Quinn, Greg Giraldo, Patrice O'Neal, Nick DiPaolo. He saw a tough crowd, and he's not the only one that's guilty of this. Andrew Schultz is. A lot of guys from this era are, where they picked up all the wrong lessons where, yes, you can say the racist thing, you can say the sexist thing, but you have to have material to back it up. Patrice O'Neal would yell at women through his shows, but he had material to explain the psychology of why he feels this way about dating. Nick DiPaolo was a raging Italian racist, but he had material to explain to you why he was. Greg Giraldo was let's be honest about it, cynical Latino dude, but he had reasons and arguments for why he was. That's how it goes. Material allows for all the stuff you want to get away with. None of those guys have it. And it's also a thing where guys aren't able to elevate either, because Andrew Schultz, who I think has material, when he did his life special, was talking about how hard it was to conceive a child. You would think this is going to be a different kind of special. It's going to get more in touch with, the vulnerabilities, but he doesn't. He does the podcast stuff on a stand-up special. It's the same rhythms. Nothing's changed. He's learned nothing. And at the end, he has to put together pretty much an Instagram montage of all his videos and pictures to get you to feel something. Because once he had to have material and have to work a match, he didn't have anything. Because the cheap heat was how he was operating. A lot of guys are doing it. And it's killing the industry. Will the industry be better? I don't know. I don't know what the next phase of comedy is now, given the ramifications of the Instagram reel and TikTok. I don't know. But what I do know is we are in a tough spot. And I worry about an art form that I love since I was a kid being taken over by a lot of guys who do not know how to work matches and do not know how to put anyone over. Because now you create an ecosystem where you require an AEW, which is a rival brand now to WWE, and those are hard to come by because TNA tried it and they were gone. Ring of Honor tried it, they're gone. I don't know if comedy has an AEW in it, and I'm really hoping to find one because the current roster is looking bleak, and oddly enough, Tony made such a brilliant gimmick for the internet age of wanting to judge the mentally handicapped on stage, and he's now burdened by it because without it, he's a nobody. And maybe that in itself is the karmic justice. Maybe that in itself is the price. And we now know the price for choosing to be tasteless, choosing the easy way out. You've now attached yourself to a gimmick. You can't get out of it. I shouldn't take pleasure in it, but I do. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Oh yeah, it's the weekend. Don't got much money, but don't mean you can't have fun. Don't mean you can't open up a nice cold brokey. Brokey, cheap beer, cheap people. Brought to you by the Northern Bones Brew.
Welcome back. This kind of just happened. It's involving one of our favorite people we like to make fun of on here. And, you know, we are never ones to stay away at a chance of making fun of old Stephen A. Smith, or at least being critical of one Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith, whew, yikes. Depending on what era of ESPN you grew up with, he's either the savior of ESPN or was the antichrist of ESPN. I'm more of a Mike Wilbon guy. Then again, I'm more of a Chicago sports pundit guy. There are very few New York pundits I really fuck with. You know, Al Cintron of WFAN is great. I love him. But Wilbon was always my go-to, him and Tony Kornheiser. Pardon the interruption, taught me everything you know about sports. There was PTI, and there was Around the Horn right before it. Around the Horn, Woody Page, the legends. Every time Stephen A. showed up on Around the Horn, it was a terrible episode because you knew no facts would be debated, only feelings. So Stephen A. has made a career out of being a loudmouth, God bless him, and one would say he should be proud of that. One would say he should be thankful that he has been able to get out of journalism and become just like me, a guy talking on a microphone to people who may or may not be listening. He's got a pretty good audience. I'll give him that. He's got me beat there. But essentially, he traded in journalism to be my colleague. What a win for him, really. And over the last few years, his feelings with the black community have come in question. It doesn't help that Max Kellerman seemed to be more progressive or more on the right side of history when it came to these issues when they were hosting First Take Together. Now Stephen A. is playing the I am decentrist Democrat role, and everyone who disagrees with me is only doing so because they think I'm an Uncle Tom, which I have never called Stephen A. and Uncle Tom. It'd be weird because, one, I think I'm too light to do that. Secondly, I mean, I don't think he'd make a good Tom. I think he's a perfect Stephen. I feel like you should only use a term if someone ideally would look like a good Tom. But he doesn't look like that to me. He does wear goofy suits. He does have a goofy-ass hairline. He does have goofy-ass takes. He also likes to pretend that he is a mob boss of sorts, threatening NBA players routinely, threatening anyone who's critical of him. It's kind of absurd. So he's done it again, but he's done it to the NAJB. Now, we should probably have looked at the name of it. I just know of it because I've always had a respect for it. But it's amazing I can have respect for an organization without knowing its name. It's like I'm Andrew Wilson and I'm defending Charlie Kirk's wife without knowing the actual charges. I'm not saying Candace Owens won that debate. I'm saying it was a very interesting debate in which she was more consistent than he was. The National Association of Black Journalists. Now, this organization is a institution. It's been around 75. And there have been many great black journalists throughout our time, and they've honored many black journalists of the time. But they also have this thing called the Thumbs Down Award, which I kind of like. The Thumbs Down Award is to point out people or institutions who have negatively impacted black journalism. And this year, they decided our boy, Stephen A. Smith, qualified. Let us see the video.
Stephen A. Smith, sports analyst and political commentator. Smith has established a recurring public pattern of disparaging commentary directed at prominent black women across politics, sports, and media. Such commentary reinforces harmful narratives, undermines the fair and respectful representation of black women in public discourse, and stands in direct conflict with NABJ's long-standing commitment to accurate, responsible, and inclusive portrayals of black communities. Stephen A. Smith.
Now, of course, Stephen A. was upset by this, but I find nothing wrong with what they've said. When Floyd Mayweather had allegations come his way from his baby moms about abuse, the first thing Stephen A. said was, I shit you not. Well, how do we know, what happened? Like, what did she do to deserve that? He kind of asked that question on First Take. It was kind of wild. And I remember looking at the screen going, a woman just came to the police saying she just got beat. And your first question is, well, how do we know that's true? The bruises, I think. The bruises would prove the abuse, Stephen A. I guess he had his journalist hat on then. But the thing is, it's like, Stephen never wanted to just be a journalist. That's clear. Because if you just wanted to be a journalist, you'd have to be on ESPN. Didn't have to do the job. Could have just stayed in the newspaper business and done pretty well for yourself. But as newspapers were dying, he was like, well, I need to do something else. And I have a personality. I'm funny. I say wild stuff. So he took that route. And now he's upset. The whole world kind of sees that going, oh yeah, you pivoted, bud. You got what you wanted in the end. You got to be, the pundit, the guy that everyone talks about. Oh, did you see Stephen A's opinion? You're arguing with athletes on the regular. You're threatening to out secrets about them for whatever reason. Why? Because they called you out and maybe you had some bad reporting? Maybe you put out some information that wasn't true? And instead of looking at all these organizations of people that hate Stephen A. Smith, instead of looking at that going, it's kind of wild how many people hate me. I should ask the question, what have I done to be hated? And the thing is, with narcissism, that's not how it works, right? And I have to fight that on a regular basis because I am a man talking on the microphone. So I have some level of narcissism here that goes, I must give my opinion. I must get on the microphone. And if people don't like it, fuck them. Like that I do have that. But I am aware that if I am on the wrong, well, apparently on the wrong side of something, and if a bunch of people are like, hey, what you did was fucked up, what you said was fucked up, you're fucked up, I'm going to start asking a question going, what did I do? Love me. No, I'm going to look inside and go, some aspect of this I got wrong and I'm not paying attention to. Now, I will offer the other side a chance to understand their point, but Stephen A. doesn't do that. Stephen A. just likes to, hey, my truth is my truth, and that's a good faith argument in his mind. But you can be coming from a place of what you feel is truth and still be incredibly bad faith, which he's bad faith all the time. There's never an honest conversation he's having. There's always an agenda to be pushed. I have never watched Stephen A. Smith have a real emotional moment, even when the Knicks won, which was the one time where me and this man could have connected on something. Even then, I could not sense a genuine moment from that dude because he's always on. And now, he's upset nowadays. He's getting more people that come after him for his political takes when he never had to go into politics. But this is always what happens. A lot of guys in different industries realize that politics are forever. And you can be part of a political lexicon or a political scene and be in the history books forever because you may have said something. Your clips will be used for documentaries and such. In sports, it's a narrower window because there are a lot of great sports documentaries, but if you're a sports fan, you're watching that documentary. It doesn't really... The Last Dance is such a rarity because it's Michael Jordan. Everyone knows Michael Jordan. But most sports documentaries, if you know, you know. So it's why athletes get into activism. It's why actors get into activism, because people could easily not see your movies. People could easily not watch TV. Like, there are people who are apparently famous I don't know about. Half the cast of I Love LA I've never fucking heard of. But apparently they're famous people. But this is where Stephen A. is now. Stephen A. wants to protect his legacy or wants to project a legacy. So he goes, hey, I'm going to get into politics. I'm going to be the deep thinker and I'll be that guy. And the problem is he's not that guy. He's never been that guy. His thoughts are at best sophomoric, They're great if you just got into politics yesterday. Like, he doesn't have any gravitas to speak on any of the subjects he speaks on. And it's why Bill Maher loves him. Because Bill Maher also has seemingly lost track of where his thoughts are. He's a guy that, him and Stephen A aren't that different. Because Stephen A is campaigning for relevancy while Bill Maher is arguing for people to look at him as a better comic than what he is. Respectfully. Bill Maher has hosted Real Time for years. I watched it for years. Politically Incorrect watched it for years. But no one really knew him for his stand-up. People were surprised when they found out he was a stand-up. Mostly a lot of Joe Rogan fans sometimes. But but Bill Maher was never the stand-up guy. He was never the comedian. So God bless Larry King. He tells him, hey, you are the closest thing we have to Mark Twain. And that goes into Bill Maher's mind, and he fights to get the Mark Twain Award, as opposed to just it being given to him. He campaigns for it. He goes to Trump's White House. He pretty much begs for it. And now wants to walk around going, well, I'm the closest thing to Mark Twain. You see, I now have the award. No, bud, you campaigned for it. It's like a star in a Hollywood Walk of Fame. It means nothing. You bought it yourself. And this is the problem with a lot of guys like Stephen A and guys like Bill Maher. They are so hyper-focused on their own mythology that it gets in the way of their actual takes that are actually relevant, takes that are actually nuanced. They don't really have those. Bill thinks he's got nuanced takes, but Bill just has old man takes now. He just doesn't like where the country's going. He doesn't like that more Muslims are around. And I'm sorry, but Islam's kind of lit, like a little bit lit. It's a little lit. All right. Now, the burqas and all that, I don't know if I can get with that. I don't think covering up people in the summertime is wise. The scarf thing's cool, because I've seen really cool scarves. But the full burq, I don't know if I'm down with the full burq. But things are changing. The world's changing. Bill Maher and guys like Stephen A are realizing that they're at the end. So they have to have some kind of legacy. And they're going to fight tooth and nail to project whatever that legacy is. And I hope that when I'm older, I can age gracefully where I don't need that. Where I'm not thinking about, oh my God, I gotta make sure I win this award. Or I gotta make sure I get into this space so I can live forever. And it's like, dude, you both of them have done so well for themselves. They have become the top of their industry, made millions of dollars. But yet, they're still not happy. That they still need the accolades. Stephen A routinely said he doesn't give a shit about nothing. Then why does this thing care? They gave you a thumbs down award. It's like winning a Razzie. No one acknowledges the Razzies. The disrespect only has power if you grant it power. And he's going to, because what he loves isn't being seen as a dignified man. It's the clicks. It's the attention. It's the, will someone love me? And I get it. And I feel like I can walk Stephen A through this. If he wants to take 2 minutes. Breathe in, see? We're breathing in. Look at that. Please watch my show. I'm broken on the inside. I need the love of an audience. Please think I'm smart. Please enjoy my legacy. Think I'm great. Please. See how good that feels, Steven, when you just say it out loud? When you just admit the truth, buddy. Now there's a racial component to it. And I understand that he wants to be seen as someone who's pushed black people forward in media. And the case can be made, absolutely. ESPN has built their network around a black anchor. That's pretty historic. But I think he's also missed how hard it was to get there. Because for him, it's just, I'm great and I deserve to be here. Fair enough. But so is Stuart Scott. And I would argue I would give anything. I would give Stephen A's entire career if I can get 10 more years of Stuart Scott's career. And the opportunity he could have had in this era. But he's not here and we're stuck with who we got. As my dad once said, which I'm pretty sure he didn't mean, sometimes you dance with the girl you brought. And Stephen A. and Bill Maher are the girls we brought. They're the best we've got. We've got two guys begging to be loved at the end of their lives. Well, not even at the end of their lives, really. Just more Bill than Stephen. But this is how it ends for everyone, I think. I was watching Ocean's 13, and, Ruben goes through that. So he wants to go in business with Willie Bank to have something in the Vegas skyline, but he gets rubbed out. Should have just gone for the boulevard, Ruben. Should have just had the boulevard named after you. Maybe that's just enough. Having something named after you. Sometimes the memories are good enough. We all want to live forever. I have this show, which who knows what will happen to the master tapes of this. My child will probably sell them in the apocalypse. Trade them for water. God bless her. She's going to be a great kid, I think. I think she's going to be a girl. I'm pretty certain I'm having a girl when it happens. Pretty sure. Not against it. Kind of prefer it. I don't want my son to feel bad in the future if it happens to be a kid. Oh, he didn't want a son. No, I'm fine either way. But I just have a feeling it's going to be a girl. And if it is a son, sweet, he's going to be an assassin. If I have a daughter, sweet, she's going to be an assassin. So the world's fucked either way. But this is the things you think about towards the end. In the beginning we talked about what do you build your church on. Now we're talking about what do you leave behind. The gospels you leave behind. And Stephen A. has to look in the mirror and ask himself what kind of gospels he leaving behind. Is it actually valuable? Is he actually seeing what people need right now? Or is he just looking inside himself? And Bill Maher has to ask himself, what's it feel like to have a award you campaigned for, didn't deserve, because your stand-up's been asked for years. No one looks at you as a stand-up. But you begged for something, and you got it. And here's the thing. You tied it to a president that's going down in history, not well. So no matter how many years pass, when they told the Mark Twain Award, they'll have to mention your dinner with DJT. One of America's great liberal voices has to tie his legacy now to one of the worst Republican presidents. I fucking love it. Then again, I think we all know how this one is going to end.